In mind, we're going to bring Tarek Fatal on. But Tarek, before you talk about the game, I have a nice surprise for you. One of your favorite people, one of your favorite athletes, had a magnificent moment last night in her pro soccer debut. Alyssa Thompson, first time she touched it, she scores for Angel City, professional goal out of the gate. Your thoughts?
Knew the name. We all knew how good she'd be. And for her to do this on the professional level is outstanding. We had actually one, if there's one thing that was a positive about the pandemic, and there aren't very many, it's that she couldn't play U.S. women's soccer, like the youth system. Everything was shut down. So she got to play a season of high school soccer. And that's when I think she scored like 40-plus goals, and Harvard Westlake won everything they possibly could, and now she's a pro. And by the way, before she scored that goal, she had an English class that morning. How funny is that?
That is very funny, but hey, she speaks pretty good language on the soccer field, scoring goals. All right, let's go to basketball. Your thoughts about Etowanda and knocking off Sierra Canyon, the #1 team in the country in girls hoops?
They let them loose. Stan DeLoose. That's right, man. You couldn't have been more correct on your opening kind of take there in regards to Stan DeLoose and the coaching job he's done for Etowanda. It's hard to beat teams that you've lost to. They always say, oh, it's hard to beat a team again twice. Well, it's hard to overcome and beat a team you've already lost to as well. And not only did he do that once, he did it twice in back-to-back games. And to limit Juju Watkins to only 16 points is an absolute amazing achievement. I think they limited her at the free throw line as well, which was a huge part of their success, and they get the win by 1 point. They're going to the state final.
Yeah, they deserve to win the game. They were a great, great club this last week. You talk about defense against La Jolla Country Day and against Sierra Canyon. They didn't allow a combined 100 points. They played terrific D. All right, let's turn to the boys. Harvard Westlake, Corona Centennial. There goes the dynasty. The Wolverines take them down 80-61. How about Trent Perry? 25 points, hits his first 5 shots for the Wolverines.
I think if there's one program, one coach, Josh Giles was okay with shaking, the hand of another coach in defeat, it was David Rabibo of Harvard Westlake. I had spoken with Josh Giles earlier in the year just about their team and how good they were feeling and yada, yada, yada. And he goes, man, if there's one team I'm looking out for, it's Harvard Westlake. And the showdown finally came to fruition, and the Wolverines got them. So I know David Rabibo and Trent Perry and Brady Dunlap and Jacob Huggins are really happy to play in this state title game on Saturday night.
It snapped a long winning streak against California teams, 50 straight for the Huskies. They had won 20 straight games overall this year to get to that contest. Won the C.I.F. Open Division crown, but they couldn't beat Harvard Westlake in the regional championship game. All right, Notre Dame, same score over Sierra Canyon, the same as the last score, identical, 80-61. Not a surprise that the Knights beat them. They've beaten them 4 times this year, but again, a wide spread.
It was all Caleb Foster, and I was at that game, and I have to say it, LeBron James had fired out a tweet on Monday night while he was watching NBA basketball saying that some of the players he was watching weren't as good as Bronny James, and then poor Bronny James comes out on Tuesday night and only scores 10 points, and Caleb Foster goes for 28 and just demolishes Sierra Canyon. So it was fitting that Caleb Foster, who's not a McDonald's All-American, by the way, he played and was motivated by that. Here's a miss and a pass to Mercy Miller. He's going to the University of Houston. No one could stop Caleb Foster. He was getting to here's another video of it. Crossover and gets to the free throw line. He was gets a layup. And if he couldn't get a layup, he was getting to the free throw line. He was unstoppable that night.
Yeah, 28 points, sensational performance indeed. How about Linwood Pacific Christian? It was Linwood winning it handily. Jason Crow Jr. is the story. Freshman, 40 points. He's had a 60-point game this year.
If he keeps it up, he might mess around with Tracy Murray's all-time scoring record. And that could be that would be quite the accomplishment. And I think someone like Jason Crow Jr., I want to say he might be the all-time leading scorer for freshmen in the state. If not, he's like in the top 2 or 3. So it's an outstanding performance, and what a way to cap off a great season than to win a state title. He'll get that chance this weekend.
There's a young man, everybody thought he was going to go to UCLA. He plays at Narbonne, he's just a junior, and he announced where he was going to go to college, and it was kind of a shock. Marcus Adams Jr., terrific player for the Gauchos. They were the top seed. They got knocked off in the city section open division playoffs, and he picks Kansas, the reigning national champs. Bill Self called him and sold him on the program.
Yeah, quite the nice surprise. And I will say this, if he is only a junior, you just never know. Until they put pen to paper, Randy, you just never know in this wacky world we call college athletics and even high school athletics nowadays. Kids can get very fickle. They transfer around. So, listen, Kansas for now. That's what I'll say.
All right, you want to meet our guests? We have Tremeka on, Tremeka Batiste. She's the head coach of Poly in Sun Valley. They won a city championship in basketball. And the outstanding guard, Hannah Lising. I wanted to call her Lising because it's spelled that way, but it's pronounced Lising. And I was going to replace the L with an R and say, hey, it's Hannah Rising, as in rising star. But this Poly team, Tarek, a great story how they beat Laces in the championship game and won the city title.
You know, just like Caleb Foster the other night, Hannah was unstoppable, could not be guarded. If she was getting by people, she was either scoring or getting fouled. It's like the greatest compliment a basketball player can have. They got to foul you. It's the only way they can stop you. And I know she had 35 points in the victory, but it got a little hairy there. I know we're going to talk about it. She fouled out and had to cheer from the sideline. So I know we're excited to talk about them right now.
All right, let's meet the Poly Parrots. You know, when I think of Poly, really the most famous player out of there is the guy. It's Gail Goodrich. Many, many years ago, he led him to a city championship and went on to fame at UCLA and with the Lakers, Hall of Fame player in the NBA. But now we have a new starring tandem. We have the coach, Tremeka, and the player, Hannah. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the championship. We'll start with you, Tremeka. I want to be honest. Your star guard has a phenomenal game, Hannah Lising. She fouls out. You're going to overtime, and you don't have her on the floor because she fouled out. Did you really believe you'd beat Laces without Hannah and her sister Hart, who was not available that day, her twin sister?
Yes. That's something that had already worked out. Everybody had roles, and we knew that we didn't have to have Hannah, well, not Hannah. We didn't have to have Hart in there because we were going to make it up in other areas. When Hannah went out, though, that's a different story because it's like now we're without both of them. And but the girls were playing so well and doing the things that they needed to do that when Hannah fouled out, my heart sank a little bit. But then it was like, you know what? These girls are hungry. So it was okay.
Coach, I wanted to ask you, was there a moment where, listen, when your best player goes out the game, the other players, they feel that energy? You kind of alluded to it right there. What did you tell them? I know you said you felt like they were hungry, but what did you tell them to keep that confidence and not get overwhelmed and thinking, uh-oh, our best player is out of the game for the rest of the way?
It wasn't that hard because I had to tell them this when her sister Hart couldn't play the game. And so it just, all I did was continue what I was saying the week before. It's everybody knew what they needed to do. And I just needed them to do their part. And if they did their part, everybody in their roles, then we were going to be okay. So then when Hannah went out, it's just okay. So my freshman had to step up, and she did.
Okay, let's bring in Hannah. It's time to talk to Hannah, always with a great smile and a wonderful disposition. But how do we really know it's Hannah? She's got a twin sister and a heart. So, Hannah, how you doing tonight? Congratulations on the big game. And how difficult was it for you when you went out of the game saying, oh my goodness, I fouled out. It's up to the rest of the team to bail me out here. How tough a situation was that for you?
It was hard watching on the sideline, but I trusted my teammates, and I know that they're gonna do good, and they did.
So do you like the fact that
Hannah,
they've
talk about.
taken off the L and made you rising? I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Tarek.
I was gonna ask, what made you, what was feeling good to you that night? Or I guess it would be like the afternoon. But what made you feel like you were gonna have a good game? Was it getting to the basket? Was it making threes? What got you in a groove?
Well, before the game, I really prayed, and I just gave my best, especially that my sister's not playing. So I just push myself in the even though it's hard and like tired.
Tremeka, Poly wins a city championship. You obviously have the Lising girls coming back next year, so you have a great foundation to potentially win it again. You win a couple games in the state before you're finally knocked out by Campbell Hall, so congratulations moving along in the state tournament. But what do you feel about next year? Where does Poly go from here?
Well, it would be nice if we had a little bit of height. Since our biggest girl is 5'5", that would help. But you know what? They're a quick team. They're aggressive. So, and we're losing 3 people, but a lot of the key players are still there. And like I said, my freshman had to step up. There's a sophomore that's stepping up. So it's like there's still a couple young girls that got a feel of what it was like to play in these big games. And so next year it should be that much better for them because they don't have the stress of it being for the first time. They have the experience. And the twins are about as experienced as you can get at this point.
My last question is for Hannah in regards to her off season. Hannah, what does your off season look like? How often are you in the gym? Are you someone that works out all the time? Do you try and take a little time off? What does your off season look like?
Well, right now I'm taking 2 weeks off, and then after that, I'm going back to practice with my coach and my club team too.
Hannah, you have a
Great.
lovely name, Hannah Angel. That's phenomenal. And your sister is Heart Lising. Where these names come from? They're a little bit different, but they're fantastic.
Honestly, I don't know, but I still have to ask my mom about that.
All right, so you'll work on your jump shot, which doesn't need a whole lot of work, and you can find out a little bit family tree information in the off season. Well, congratulations to Poly Sun Valley getting a city title. It was wonderful. It was great theater, especially the win against Lasis in the finals at Pasadena City College. Coach, congratulations. Hannah, congratulations, and we'll talk to you down the road. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it was a pleasure having you aboard. And I know, Tarek, you love this story. It's just, to me, an amazing story that Poly, which doesn't have a great tradition, candidly, is able to step up, and now they're good, and they're going to be even better next year, one would imagine, with the 2 twins coming back.
Really excited to see what they can do next year, and I bring that up because I know Grant High School, the boys program, won a city title last year and then repeated this year. And when we talked to them, they said, "Man, that repeat was sweeter." So maybe Sun Valley Poly, maybe the girls team can have that same feeling.
Very possible they're going to be outstanding next year. We're going to step out, hear from our buddies at Pacific Surfliner, and turn our attention to baseball. We have Ralph Grajeda on the other side of the break, the brilliant head coach at Yucaipa. And Yucaipa, the Thunderbirds, always a terrific baseball squad. That's next, right here on SoCal Prep Report. We'll be back in 30.
Southern California has always been a land of discovery. From historic gems to iconic beaches to top attractions. Let the Amtrak Pacific Surfliner be part of your journey as you explore more of the place we call home. Reconnect with the communities you love most, with the people you love most. Isn't it time you rediscovered Southern California?
baseball teams are. And it's presented by Pacific Surfliner. And quite candidly, it's somewhat of a guess at this point. They win and lose. There's no undefeated teams. A couple teams are undefeated with a tie. So we cobbled together a top 10. These are good teams. Tarek, take a look at it. Because you're from the Valley, I have Sierra Canyon and Notre Dame in the top three. I'm trying to pacify you.
Yeah, I mean, to not have Harvard Westlake on this list somewhere is probably a
forgot.
crime in some
I
state.
think I forgot.
Yeah, you probably should have had me look at this, but that's okay. That means there'll be a lot of movement next week. Listen, there's some good teams in here. Every team on this list is good. Are they top 10 in SoCal? I don't know. That's up for debate, but a lot of talent. But I will say this, Sierra Canyon right now is surprising a lot of people because they're unbeaten and they're taking it to Mission League teams in their first year in the league.
Yeah, and they played a 3-game series with Crespi. They tied them twice. Crespi was a tremendous team, and they buried them the other game, 8-0. All right, that's the transition for baseball. So that takes us to Yucaipa. That'll bring us to Ralph Grajeda. And Ralph's going to bring on two of his favorite guys, two of his star players, and I'll have him introduce his guys. But let's bring in the coach now from Yucaipa, who year in and year out, he's a friend of the show. He does a tremendous job with this program. He started a little bit slippery this year. They lost their first 4 games out of league, but once he got into league, he ran off 3 in a row, and things are looking good for his Yucaipa teams. So we welcome the coach to the program. Coach Grajeda, how are you tonight?
Thank you.
Well, tell us about the start. You're a little bit sluggish, losing the first 4 games. I know you didn't get the timely hits that you wanted, but now I think you feel comfortable. Your bats are coming alive.
So this is our second year being in the PBR. We were in the final last year, and so we got an invite back from Les Lukash at PBR, and we're excited to be a part of it. And we did go 0-4 in that. We lost 3 one-run ball games, and I think if you look at all those teams and the rosters in that tournament, you had this tremendous program. There was so much pitching. I have not seen that much pitching in one tournament probably since the PH outside North Carolina. I mean, you're talking about some very special teams. There's easily 30, 40 scouts, pro scouts out there. It was a great venue. One of the best tournaments that I've been in as a coach. And, this program, the way we go about it, we go play the best tournaments that we can get our hands on, and it's going to make us better down the line. As long as I'm at Yucaipa, we're never going to play a cupcake schedule. I don't prepare you for anything. It gives yourself a false sense of security, but for us, we're going to play those types of teams, and so we got to get ready and learn how to beat those types of teams. So for us, it was worth going to. So there were some growing pains, and I think we learned from it. And then once we got in the league, we're starting to put it together, and they're starting to figure out what we need to do to close out games. And so I'm excited for them.
Now we're going to bring Tarek back in a moment, but Tarek, we have a couple players with us as well. Luke Scherrer, who's a tremendous catcher, and the pitcher Noah Reimer. So with that in mind, they're aboard as well. I open it up to Tarek Fatal.
Yeah, my questions for Luke as a catcher. For the viewers out there, that's a really important piece of the puzzle when it comes to baseball, man. Can you talk about what your role is? Are you like the point guard on the basketball court? What's your role as the catcher, and what's the best way you facilitate everyone's on the same page? What are some of your roles as you're out there on the baseball field?
My main role is probably to make sure the pitcher trusts me and trusts that I'm going to do all I can back there to make sure that he has all the stuff that he needs to get done, what he needs to get done on the mound as well. Whether that's because I call the pitches, so whether that's trusting me to throw a pitch in a certain count, trusting me to block the curveball when they need to throw it in the dirt, when they need to do this, when they need to do that. So yeah, just making sure the pitcher trusts me, and then making sure guys are in the right places and things like that.
Let's move ahead and talk to a very fine pitcher in Noah Reimer. And Noah, your brother played there. He played shortstop for the Thunderbirds. What's it like to play in the Yucaipa program? Why is it special to play for Ralph Grajeda and the Thunderbirds?
I feel like we're just just an overall competitive team that's trying to win no matter what, and full of like obviously rich history. So.
And Coach, I know you have your facilities getting refurbished. Talk a little bit about what's going on with the baseball field, because I know when it's done, it's going to be phenomenal.
So we have really good bones with it. So about 6 years ago, I saw that we had some grandstands, and I had a vision in mind, and so we got to the point where we had a private donor come in, and they've done some philanthropy throughout the community. And it was a family that gifted us $100,000 to redo our backstop area. So the backstop area is about a little over 5,000 square feet. And so we went with Blue and Action Turf. They've done, I want to say, San Diego State, USC, UCLA. They've done a lot of major Cal State Fullerton. And so I'm an Orange County guy. I knew Boone when he played at Matt Boone, when he played at Villa Park High School, and his father is Bob Boone, who caught with the Angels. So I called him. He came out, we looked at it, and he was excited to take the project over. And so it's come out great. It's almost done. They're going to sink a logo right behind home plate, about a 15-foot logo. And then we also painted our grandstands. We had a company do that was local. They donated a lot of it. It really popped and helped it, just become a special place. And then we also had a very special donation from Taiwan Walker. Taiwan Walker is an alum. He graduated Yucaipa High School in 2010. He was recently, obviously pitching with the Mets, and then now he's with the Phillies. And he had been following the program on Instagram for quite some time. And so just a really cool guy, reached out, very, very easygoing. And so I proposed a question to him kind of during the summer, and said, hey, what if we, get after it and redo this bullpen? And it's got a rich history, and there's 7 major leaguers from this program with Coach Stout when he was here. And he was on board. I mean, he got back to me within 72 hours. He said, I need to talk to my team and my wife. And he got back to us and just very gracious. He gifted us $25,000 to redo that bullpen. And that added a lot of space. We've got 3, it looks like a minor league facility or a spring training facility. And we'll finish it up by turfing it at some point. But we expanded it. We've got 3 lanes in there. We got concrete pads. It's fenced in. It used to be open to the community. So now it's kind of, it looks like a little mini college facility, and we're pretty excited about it. I know the kids are pretty fired up about it. So overall, in the past 6 months, there's about $130,000 on that facility. We're not quite there with some of the parochial schools, but for public school, we're pretty excited about it. And I know that it makes it more enjoyable when our kids show up in the yard. We just finished playing a home game this past Tuesday, and it was pretty special for the kids. So, that type of stuff is real important to me. So it was good.
Coach, congratulations on all your great work there at Yucaipa. You got the program going as always. I know you weren't on our top 10 list, but I think you might get there down the road. I'm sure you'll have continued success. You're undefeated in the Citrus Belt League. And to Luke and Noah, continued success on the diamond. Hope it goes well for you this year for the Thunderbirds. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being aboard tonight.
Thanks for having me.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. All right, Tarek, we have a little bit more business to do. We got the state games coming up this weekend. So let's start with the boys' open division. That's St. Joseph of Santa Maria, who used to be in the southern section. Now they're not. They're in the northern section. They come out of the north, and they take on Harvard Westlake. They will not be intimidated. They are the underdogs, but they will not be intimidated.
Got a couple talented players, and St. Joseph always seems to come down south. They've played Sierra Canyon this year. They play in these other tournaments and other southern section teams. And they might even travel a little out of state, like maybe Arizona or Vegas or something. So they're tested. They're not going to be scared. And obviously they're going to have a C.I.F championship to win on their mind. So there will not be any backing down from this St. Joseph team. However, I don't see Harvard Westlake losing the game. Too much talent, too much firepower.
I do love Tiande Yesevu. Yesevu is averaging 28 points and 11 rebounds a game for that very fine team for Tom Mott, who's a really good coach at Santa Maria St. Joseph. All right, the next one we want to talk about, Granada, who has a 7-footer, and Andrew McKeever, who is a big-time player going to St. Mary's, against Notre Dame of Sherman Oaks. Identical records.
Again, this is one of those games. I don't know enough about that Northern team, so of course I don't want to get too ahead of myself. But when I just think of how good Notre Dame is, and when you say a 7-footer, well, there's just too many athletes and too much speed and perimeter shooting for Notre Dame. So you think, okay, a 7-footer, yeah, he'll dominate the paint. Well, I don't know who he's going to guard. So we talked about this earlier today, so is Granada going to sit in the zone? Well, that's not good either. Notre Dame's got great shooters. So it's going to be quite the challenge for Granada to upset Notre Dame Friday night.
Well, Granada would say to you that, hey, we got strength and size. How are they going to guard us inside with Andrew McKeever? That would be their response, because they can play over Notre Dame, in their opinion. It'll be a wonderful matchup, but I agree with you, the Knights should be favored. And the last game we want to talk about, Etiwanda, Linwood's going to be the favorite in their game against the very fine team from Sierra, the Chieftains. There's that game, 26-11 and 31-5. But I do want to move ahead to the Etiwanda game, because here are the Eagles trying to win a state championship after knocking off the two powerhouse schools in California. And if there's a third powerhouse in California they have to knock off, it's the Archbishop Mitty Monarchs from San Jose. This is an outstanding team. Maya Fernandez is on her way to UC Irvine. They have a couple underclassmen that are being recruited by Stanford. This is a good basketball team. Another test for Stan DeLuce.
The name is losing me right now, but Archbishop Mitty is coached by like a legend, and she knows what she's doing, and I think she's going to be back. Archbishop's, I think they were in the Open Division State Final last year and lost to Sierra Canyon. So this is another trip for them, and they're motivated. They don't want to lose 2 times in a row in the same game. And so, Etiwanda, as good as they are, I would say in that game compared to last year, they're a little more, they're not as invincible as Sierra Canyon, right? I mean, we saw Sierra Canyon lose to Etiwanda. So I think Archbishop Mitty might maybe even a little happy to see Etiwanda and not Sierra Canyon in that final.
Well, we know you're in Sacramento, beautiful hotel room. You're going to have some fun starting tomorrow morning, right? You go right to the arena.
First game's at 10, last game's at 8, and we do it 2 days in a row. So, yes, it's a long 2 days, but it's fun, and you get to see these high school kids accomplish their dreams. I was talking with Brady Dunlap earlier this year, and he said he's been dreaming of a state championship since he was like 6 or 7 years old. He would go to his dad when his dad was coaching in college and go to March Madness, and then when he grew up in North Carolina, he'd go watch high school basketball at the state. So this kid has been dreaming of a state title almost his entire life, and he's going to get a chance to lift one on Saturday night. So things like that come to fruition for these high schoolers.
And you get to have a venue that's indoors, because I understand the weather's not very good in Sacramento right now.
It is not fun out there. The wind's howling right now, but I'll be okay. I'm just a hop, skip, and a jump from the arena here at the Holiday Inn. Shouldn't be a problem. Weather is not a factor. Although Eric Sonheimer, man, he's got to be careful. A lot of water out there.
You think he'll drown, huh?
Yeah, he might blow away, man. I don't know. No, I'm kidding. No, Eric will be fine. It'll be great. Looking forward to seeing all the colleagues. It'll be great.
Well, Tarek, enjoy the tournament up north in Sacramento. We'll see you next week. I don't know. Maybe you'll be on the road with the Bruins next week. But it was a lot of fun. We thank all our guests. That's going to wrap up another edition of SoCal Prep Report. For Tarek Fattal, I'm Randy Roosevelt. We'll see you next Thursday night, live at 9 o'clock, right here on SoCal Prep Report. Good night, everybody. Hope you like the socks. You like the socks? I got these socks.
Oh, wow. Candy cane. A little bit of, look at you. A little bit of color.
Hey!
Who
Yeah,
would have
candy
known?
cane.
Who would have known?